Markets under pressure today in South Africa, down 0.7%. We did see quite strong volumes coming to the fore. It's interesting to note that European markets and US markets, although starting the day off on a bit of a jittery footing, seems to have recovered now as the trading day goes ahead.
Yeah, look, I think it's been a very choppy environment the last sort of 6 months or since the beginning of the year. So it's almost been a situation where you see the market giving us one day of upside, one day of downside. And if you just go back to yesterday's gains, you know, we had a very strong day, particularly on the resource front. And, you know, I think guys still sort of on a jittery front from a trading and investment perspective, just showing a bit of caution and taking a bit of profit, but definitely a bit of a disconnect from our market relative to international markets. And again, also maybe a little bit of an overhang on the back of that CPI data that was out earlier today.
Was that a bit of a surprise for you? I mean, coming in at 4.6%, is that creating concern about a possible interest rate hike by the end of the year?
I think that there is speculation around interest rate hikes going forward at this point. But I think what one must remember is the fact that the CPI data that you saw is also driven by a lot of cost pressures. You've got food price increases and a lot of increases in prices from an Eskom point of view, electricity increases. So in terms of actual raw GDP growth that you're seeing on the ground level in South Africa, I still think the consumer is feeling a little bit of pain at this point in time, and it's not driven by organic growth. So I think that, yes, there is definitely interest rate hike on the card, but I still think it's a little bit too soon to preempt that it's going to be around the corner.
Well, looking at how the market has performed in today's session, you're talking about resources being quite volatile. Anglo Plat's down 3.3% today, so very strong movement to the downside. We've actually seen the platinum price, though, recovering quite nicely today. But we've also seen a lot of interest in the specific stock.
Yeah, look, if you just look at what the share price has done over the last week, I mean, it was just 3 days ago that the share price, I think, hit a low of about 610. It then bounced straight off that level and rallied to a high of about 638 or towards 640. So a very volatile stock. So if you look at that in relation to some of the other platinum players out there, like an Impala or a Lonmin, they actually remain flat over the last sort of week, trading around 180 on Impala, you know, maybe hitting 182, 176, that kind of a range. But Anglo Plat's definitely giving you a little bit of upside over the last 2 trading days. So I think a lot of speculative players out there taking some profit off the table. And, you know, when a stock like this, you know, snowballs either way on the upside or downside, it really does snowball. So some profit taking and a little bit of overreaction a couple of days ago on the upside.
And we've also seen similar movements with African Bank and with Naspers as well. African Bank down 2.5% today. We know that earnings wasn't what most had expected, and if we do see an interest rate hike coming to the fore, it'll impact a company such as African Bank, surely.
Yeah, again, and I think what you must do is just allude back to African Bank results. Now, I think a lot of guys and a lot of investments players in this stock hold the stock purely from a yield perspective. So the fact that they declared a sort of a flat yield this time out, I think a lot of long-term holders were probably a little bit disappointed. So you did see the share price on the lead up to those results and after those results sell off quite hard. So you might have seen a little bit of portfolio reweighting taking place, a little bit of money coming out of African Bank, and sort of just finding an even playing field you know, at this level. But I still think African Bank is looking attractive at these levels, and the yield is definitely popping out now.
And just when we thought Harmony could hit that 100 Rand level, it's now sitting at around 88.25. It's up 3.2%. Wafi Gold Pool, of course, being a very big focus for this company. But it seems that now most investors are focusing at the cost of taking the gold out the ground. But then again, all gold counters have been very volatile.
Yeah, and again, gold counters in general are sort of range trading stocks in my mind. So, you know, I think today there was just a little bit of caution and risk aversion coming to the fore locally. So there was a little bit of appetite in your gold stocks generally today. So, you know, if you look at it, Harmony has come down from around that 100 Rand level down towards 85 and sub 85 towards 83. So a little bit of a short-term bounce was expected in Harmony. And again, if you're going to look to trade that range, then, you know, Harmony in my mind is a trading buy towards that 80 Rand level.
SAB is down 1.2%, and we know there's quite a bit of talk about SAB, of course, putting in a bid for Foster's in Australia, and it seems they've got to go back to the drawing board, also saying that if they do increase the bid by over 10% or so, it's not going to affect the company going forward, at least from a ratings perspective.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. And if you look at it from an analyst perspective, obviously they were, you know, from an analyst perspective, they seem to have been quite cheeky with the bid for Foster's. So if they do increase that bid, is what you're seeing in the share price movement and the sell-off in the share price at the moment is the fact that they are going to see these, it's pricing in the potential for that increase in the bid. So that's obviously going to give you a lot more capital outlay and obviously impact the bottom line for SAB. So in my perspective, I think SAB down under 230 towards 225 is actually looking attractive. Remember as well that it's going to pay a dividend on the 1st of August, and on the lead up to that, I anticipate a little bit of upside, maybe just a short-term overreaction in my mind.